these things do need to be answered, and what's good return is answering some of these things.
Thank you for the question, sir. We're looking at this simply the C-50 American people. This is the person and the president. Stackers and parts, a lot of things that you working on behalf of the president. With these executive orders that we identified, there's no evidence of Joe Biden, any first person in his voice as president, talking about, and I said Pennsylvania's on behalf. When you ban export of liquid natural gas and you never get asked about it in person, one has to wonder if Joe Biden did it or if the Senate did.
If you specifically expressed concern that President Biden was not aware of that specific act to implement the executive order causing liquefied natural gas permits. Now, why are you specifically concerned the president was unaware of that specific order?
Well, there's an anecdote from earlier this year where Speaker of the House Johnson mentioned he was in conversation with President Biden, brought it up, and the president said, "I don't know what you're talking about." At the time, that was understood as allowing the president's little person to realize. But maybe two things can be true. Maybe he really didn't know what Speaker Johnson was talking about. Maybe he had no idea he passed this executive order. And if the president has never asked about it and he hides from the press and there's no opportunity for him to get asked in public about it, how do we know he actually did it? And these are serious executive orders. This is not,
it is bizarre. You know, when President Trump signed his executive order, we saw him sign the executive order. He had a big event. He was, they were talking about the executive order. They did this is what this specific executive order is. We never saw any of that.
You know, and lives were destroyed, sir. And when you ban the export of liquid natural gas, there are hundreds of thousands of men and women who work in the natural gas industry. Lives were destroyed. People went bankrupt because of that. And we have no evidence that Joe Biden himself actually.
We haven't found any evidence either.
So that was the congressman actually from the Republican congressman has been very much that we're going to increase the U.S. liquefied natural gas exports. It's going to benefit the U.S. economy. I'm just going to tell you. So you can't sit there and say, I'm going to pull it up and cut it off. You notice one protects yourself domestically, but it makes sense to be able to have plenty here and then export to the remainder, right? Anyway, the issue being that Biden didn't seem to understand or know anything about what he was signing. And that gets back to the very central issue of all of this, which is that you cannot have a situation where you have a president who's mentally incapacitated and nobody can pick up and say you're an auto and signing up on everything, whether politics or whether it be parties. And we heard from a congressman, actually from Benny.
Hey, how can I help?
This speaker said,
No trouble at all.
for party scheme going down. I'll tell you, they got lots of questions on Trump is right to demand the investigation. Gomer's got his investigation. We got investigations galore. I'll tell you. And you know what? Before anybody says, nothing's going to happen, nothing's going to happen. I actually think this time you're going to find some stuff out. Especially once we get to the doctor. Especially once we see the medical records. They were hiding stuff there. We got big problems. And you got to get what's her face, KJP, in there as well. One is out there trying to peddle and sell a new book. Anyway, I sat down just a short time ago with Congressman Bill Huizenga out of Michigan, asked him about some of these things. Let's listen. The program, Congressman Bill Huizenga from Michigan, it's great to see you. Thanks for being here.
It's good to be with you, Trish, and thanks for having me.
AutoPan, we're saying that people didn't know anything. Biden obviously didn't know what day it was. I mean, a lot of concerns about all the stuff that went through. You think about the 8,000 plus pardons in the end. Are we going to see much? I mean, is this going to be a full-blown investigation? Because I look at this, Congressman, as one of the biggest political scandals of our generation. I mean, you can't have a president who doesn't know what's up and not invoke the 25th Amendment, for goodness sakes. That's what it's there for.
Look, the irony was is that the same people who were calling for the 25th Amendment to be applied to Donald Trump first go around were completely silent when arguably it really was necessary to implement with Joe Biden. And clearly there was not a full understanding, and he clearly was not having his full faculties. And who was running the country is a legitimate question. Who was running the country? You know, was it Joe Biden? Was it his chief of staff?
Her chief of staff?
Her chief of staff? Was it John Kerry? There's all kinds of rumors around him as to who was actually making the day-to-day decisions on this stuff. And I think that's part of the reason why you saw, in many ways, on some of these big issues, that people were frozen in place. And then you saw the harder left side of the equation in his party kind of take some control and start running with things that arguably the Joe Biden of old never would have agreed to. And maybe he changed, or maybe he didn't really, but this was allowed to happen.
You know, Comer's out there in front of it. I saw Josh Hawley the other day saying, my gosh, he had heard from Secret Service that he'd get lost in his closet in the morning. So, what are we going to do about it?
Both Jim Jordan and James Comer are looking at this. They need to do that. We're going to let those committees do their work, which they need to do. And but this has to get answered. This has to get uncovered. And it's too important. And frankly, this is, I think, the biggest political scandal in the modern era. If this is true, that Joe Biden really wasn't making those decisions, and that it was a group of other people doing so. This is not just like, hey, I was too busy dealing with China or some other issue. This was, I didn't really understand what was going on, and others were stepping in. That's,
I mean, not to mention this.
yeah, Trish, they put this guy up to go get reelected. I know. What would have happened if they truly had hit him in the basement again for another full term, and he didn't actually get exposed on the debate stage the way that it was in front of millions of people, and who knows where this goes.
We talked about a whole, I'm going to get into more with Congressman Bill Huizenga showing that over the weekend, including not dying in favor of subject Bitcoin, but anyways, in the House Financial Services Committee, we had a lot to discuss. But his point, like mine, this is a big freaking deal, right? You guys want to run the guy again? Come on. That's exactly what they tried to do. I mean, hey, we all saw it. Had it not been it was okay with him doing the debate, and you guys kind of fell apart when this was right.
You'd rather than prejudice or your career. Number two, you've got $2 billion tax benefit for very low. Then I want to get taxes to present. And we have 1,000 trillion right now. $1 billion. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they pay 18% tax. If they just paid 24%, 25%, even then that's $500 million billion in a 10-year period. We've been able to everybody's debt, we've been able to help make sure that all those things, child care, home care, making sure that the teams strengthen our health system, making sure that everyone, every single solitary person, that's how we're going out maybe do the COVID. Excuse me,
we beat Medicaid.
Yeah. We finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Trump.
Well, you're right, he did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, that he's destroying Medicare because
it was bad. Right? It was really bad. And yet, they wanted us to think he was great. I mean, Dr. Jill, moments after this disastrous debate that we're all saying, oh, you can't believe this. She's getting out there saying, oh my God, you did so great. I mean, it's like he wanted to use the body or something for the first time, listening to Dr. Jill, right?
Crazy. No, you did such a great job. You answered every question.
Talking to a president like this. Wow. This who we had running the free world. A fucking imbecile.
Hmm. Wow, wow, wow. You know, guys, this is getting serious though, because I think a
When
lot of
do
people are going to
10
have to
soldiers
answer
come
some
out?
of these questions. We're looking at, for example, who's being brought in by Comer. Let me share with you some of the names and pictures. Taking a look at all of this, you're going to need a Don that's going to have to come in. You got Ron Klain that's going to have to come in. We already talked about the lawyer, forgive me, rather doctor, which is O'Connor, and Steve Shetty. You've got Bruce Reed. You've got Michael Donlan. All these people are going to have to come in. You know who I want to see come in as well? I want to see none other than the chief of staff for one, Dr. Jill Biden, because he's the guy that I'm hearing is controlling everything. Interestingly, Project Veritas got one of the DNC members did a vote on record under camera type thing where he said, yeah, like this was the guy that was kind of controlling everything, and it makes sense given that Dr. Jill was guarding access to her husband, so it makes sense that her chief of staff then had a whole lot of say on all of this. So you're going to have all of these people
10
getting
soldiers.
trotted through, and it's important that this happened. It's important that it happened because you can't allow for somebody who shouldn't be the president to be the president. I mean, think about what they were saying. Remember back in the day about how Donald Trump wasn't of right mental capacity, all that stuff that they used to say, and they wanted to invoke the 25th Amendment back then with him. And yet that same cast of characters, crickets. When you had poor Joe get illegible lost in the closet, nothing. We
You gotta be fucking retarded. Because all these people continue working for us. And they robbing us. We're being lied to by both fucking parties. And when you start to do your own research, you'll realize that both parties consist of lawyers. Legal, lying lawyers. And when you think about a lawyer, when you start to think about what they really do, them sons of bitches don't never work for me or you. They always work for the judge. And most of the time become a judge too. Think about that. I'm just saying. Think about that. We're actually being played by the elite assholes who runs our government. We don't owe no fucking China no $36 trillion. We owe that fucking central bank $36 trillion. And that central bank is being ran by these elite assholes. But again, we the people, we stupid. We allow these assholes to constantly lie to us and we do nothing. We let them get away with lying every fucking time. Nobody's never held accountable for lying. Nobody. Till we start holding people accountable for lying, ain't shit gonna happen. We will continue going along with this nonsense. I'm just saying. Time to wake the fuck up and realize who's playing who.
crickets. When you had poor Joe getting illegible lost in the closet, nothing.
Thank you.
Heard nothing from them. So I'm telling you guys, you know what? things,
Some of the content.
topics